Welcome to the Enchanted Astrology Podcast with Ariel Smith. Thank you for joining me today as we look at the astrological forecast for the week of January 28th until February 3rd. Now, before we get going, I just want to invite everyone to pause and take a really deep, nourishing breath. It is so easy to get caught up in our days, in the busyness, in our tasks, that we forget our breath. Now, the astrology for this week is quite subtle, but it is powerful. And if we work with it, it can really start to change how we see ourselves and how we understand all the ways that we give our energy away. Now, this week, we have all of our personal planets still gathered in this Aquarius stellium, and this is moving the spotlight off of our personal egos and onto the greater awareness around. So today I want to talk about just what this means energetically, as well as emotionally and also practically, and why this week is such a powerful moment for reclaiming your energy, redefining who you believe you are, and letting go of some inherited beliefs that are quietly limiting our own personal freedom. So, Aquarius energy gives us an objective view of ourselves. So, most of the time, we live inside of ourselves, right? Inside of our reactions, inside of our stories, inside of our cushy little identities that we've built for ourselves. And Aquarius pulls us back and says, what happens if we just observe from the outside? And this week is a really powerful week to start questioning our own assumptions and really get curious and dig into why we believe the things that we do. Why do I believe this? Who told me that this was true? Where did this come from, right? And is this belief actually serving me? Or is it chaining me to something that does not serve me? So Aquarius energy isn't about judging the belief and thinking it's bad or there's something wrong for you having that belief. It's just concerned with asking if it's still relevant, right? So Aquarius is very future orientated, so it's not interested in who you were, who you used to be, or all of the stories that you've built to tell yourself who you believe you are. It's more interested in the potential, in who you're becoming. And this week, the energies are really supportive for us to update our own identities, right? Like software that's well overdue for an upgrade. So this week, we are reinventing ourselves through our value system rather than our egos. So Leo, which is Aquarius's opposite sign, we know shines through this visibility, right? Being seen in that spotlight. Leo rules the king or queen or the crown or whoever we have put in a position of power to represent that power. But Aquarius energy is very different from that, because Aquarius energy does not use a figure as a representation for power. It leads through ideas. And ideas are powerful because they are not owned by anybody. Ideas can be shaped, they can evolve, they can be shared. And ideas grow when you give them away, right? We're so used to thinking that giving something away somehow reduces it, but in the realm of ideas, they grow the more you share, they grow the more you give them away. So this week is a really good time to ask ourselves, like, what ideas am I living by? What values are guiding the choices that I make? And do these values actually feel aligned with the person that I feel I am now? Right? Because again, Aquarius isn't concerned with trying to defend an idea about yourself of who you were or who you have thought yourself to be this whole time. It is more innovative and future orientated and more concerned with, does this support where you're going? So you just need to be honest about where you want to go, what you want to stand for, and go from there. So because Aquarius is so highly innovative, and all of these personal planets are walking through Aquarius right now, this is a really good time to undergo this process of reinventing ourselves. And reinventing ourselves outside of the ego's definition of self. So it's not reinventing ourselves to get more likes, or it's not reinventing ourselves to just have a new brand to attach to. It's reinventing ourselves for more internal validation. So it's very quiet, it's very private and personal, and it happens internally. And these are new ideas about who you believe you are, new ways of relating to the world, new ways of sharing your energy with the greater connected whole. Because Aquarius understands that nothing exists in isolation. Everything is always connected, always existing in relation, in part of this greater connected web. And your choices have a ripple effect on that web. Your energy affects the greater collective, and the collective in turn affects you. So when we begin to reinvent ourselves, when we really question who it is we believe we are, this is a process where we're starting to change the rules, because some of the rules are very outdated, and it's rules externally, yes, as part of the society, but it always begins within. So it's the rules that you've been living by internally. And because Aquarius is, we know, so associated with freedom, this freedom starts with our awareness about our own energy, right? So Aquarius has an incredible ability to observe where our own energy is being restricted, where it's not free, because it's energetically corded to something. it's chained to something. There's some way that we are leaking our energy out into something outside of ourselves, into a belief that doesn't serve us, into something the ego is pulling, a reaction, a hate, a grievance of some kind. And this is a good time with all these personal planets in Aquarius to observe that, where that is, and start to call it back. So, where are we giving our power away? What are we energetically corded to? What grievances do we hold on to that is ultimately only draining our own energy, our own self? And maybe it's a belief about who you think you're supposed to be, or your definition of what success should look like. Maybe it's a label you've been carrying around. Maybe it's a story about what you believe is and isn't possible. There's any number of ways, and we all have them. Every single person can go through this process and find a long laundry list of things that we are giving our energy to. So as we reevaluate that and as we look at it, we can start to pull our energy back from that, because as soon as you name it, as soon as you become aware of what that is, there's now a level of detachment to it, which automatically is pulling energy back from it. And you can feel a release when that happens. You can feel it. It's a very internal validation. Nobody can validate that for you. Nobody can sense the change that happens when you become aware of all of these ways that we're giving our energy away, except for you, because that's something that you feel internally as a private and personal experience. And that is every bit as real as something that we've been taught to look on the outside for. So it's this redirection of a sense of our internal system, our internal energy, what we feel and sense but cannot see, because Aquarius energy is not the energy of external validation. Aquarius doesn't need to be seen in the way a Leo energy needs to be seen, because Leo shines, right? And there's nothing wrong about that. That's got its purpose, and Leo's its own sovereign energy, but Aquarius just functions in a different way. It's got a different purpose. And Aquarius understands internal validation. So it knows what's right for its own energy system. And it understands that what is right for one person is not going to look the same for everyone else. So it's not even going to try and chase approval. It doesn't argue to be understood. It doesn't need to be agreed with, because seeking that external validation actually only restricts its own freedom. And maybe this week you really notice that too, where you feel less reactive, maybe less triggered, less pulled into ego dynamics like having to prove yourself, and the sense of just gaining a greater emotional maturity. So there is a huge investment in ideas in Aquarius energy, and with that comes a certain level of emotional maturity. So You might find yourself responding differently to situations that used to bait and hook you, right? Things that once triggered your ego just don't land the same. You can see the bigger picture now, right? You can see where other people are maybe acting from fear or conditioning or pain, and you can have a sense of understanding for that, and you don't have to take it personally. And this is a healthy level of detachment that Aquarius energy offers, which is a very wise position of objectivity, right? You're discovering who you are beyond the ego's definition. So it's not based on roles or labels or on being opposed, because that's a big one. I am, my definition comes from being opposed to other definitions. It's not about any of that. It's simply just your beingness and discovering your own beingness. So Aquarius energy shifts the focus from highlighting the me to focusing on the we in the collective. And there's this sense of shedding all of those limiting concepts of the little me that we've built at the center of everything. And they really limit us, right? And instead, all of this energy in these personal planets moving through Aquarius, we're starting to understand ourselves apart from that smaller me concept. We're starting to understand ourselves now as part of a vast ecosystem. And within that ecosystem, every single one has an important role to play. And I keep getting this image, and I love it so much. It's cyanobacteria in the ocean, because they are not flashy. You can hardly notice that they're there. You don't think about them. They're not some dramatic, extravagant form of life. They're not celebrated like, we celebrate the form of the lion or something. They are just these microscopic cyanobacteria that live in the ocean. But they are responsible for producing something like somewhere around 70%, I believe, of the oxygen that is on this planet. Right? So something that is so largely unseen, goes completely unacknowledged, unnoticed, is what allows the entire life on Earth to breathe. So please do not measure your worth by how visible you are. Do not question your importance just because you're not loud. And just remember this week that some of the most essential roles on this ecosystem are very quiet and go unnoticed. And Aquarius knows that. So in this Aquarius stellium this week, on January 28th, Mercury will overtake Venus to now lead this train of planets. And this is telling us that our perception comes first. So this is the information that you consume, shaping your values. And your values shape your identity. And your identity will drive your actions. So let me give you an example. Let's say you turn on the news and all you see is this division. It's left versus right. It's us versus them. And if you perceive these as the only two options, you will choose a side. And your values will now align with one of those sides. And your identity becomes the type of person that is on that side, whether it's left wing or right wing, and your actions follow from that. But that system is so energetically charged, and it locks your energy into conflict. And you are no longer free in this dynamic, in this system. So now, instead, if we imagine turning on the news, and you may see the divide, but instead of perceiving it as truth, you pause. Maybe you remember a book that you read, or a podcast that you heard, or something that reminded you that the outer world only reflects the inner one. So you consider that and you realize, maybe I don't actually have to choose a side. Maybe I choose peace instead. And from this, your values shift and they align with peace and understanding. Your identity will follow and stay sovereign instead of getting locked up in a label. And your energy in this system stays free, stays with you. And that's Aquarian strength. So reclaiming your energy this week is so powerful. And it starts by questioning your perceptions. A gift of Aquarius is it doesn't need to argue to be right. It doesn't need to try to convince others. It's in a state of observing. It's taking in information. It's making an observation outside of the grips of ego. And in that higher perspective, that higher observation, it finds the sense of freedom. So we also have Neptune now in Aries, this beautiful new beginning, which happened on January 26th. And this is so deeply supportive of this week's energies because this is the inception of beautiful new ideas about our sense of self, about who we believe we are, what we are capable of, and what's possible when you start to pull your energy back. You start to reclaim your energy back. So there's this beginner's mindset here, just this willingness to detach from our previous biases, our preconceived notions about how things are, from our opinions and beliefs that we inherited. They aren't even something we consciously chose. And as we stop giving our energy to those, and we stop giving our energy to being offended, to hating, to trying to control, we start to finally see that those reactions only work to further imprison ourselves. And we know better now. We know how precious our energy is. And we know now not to attach it to things like judgment or resentment or fear. And we can let others be on their own sovereign journeys because we are finally committed to our own freedom. So this week, allow yourself to evolve and just trust the process, trust the timing, trust what feels right, trust your inner sense of knowing. Now you'll want to look at where you have Aquarius in your chart to see where this energy plays out most strongly for you. and that will be between 3 and 23 degrees of Aquarius this week as these planets move through that sign. Now, as always, I do offer guided yin yoga sessions through my website, and if you would like to explore these planets, these personal planets moving through Aquarius, you can, through the website, choose a personal planet and do that guided yin yoga journey, as well as the Aquarius guided yin yoga journey. And with the two together, you can get a sense of the flavor of how these planets feel within the sign of Aquarius. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen with me here today, and I will be back next week with another episode.